My name is Amira, and I was 25 years old when everything changed. The event took place on the 14th of Lumar, year 817, in the royal kingdom of Sahir, a fictional land known for tall white towers, silent rules, and traditions that rarely allowed mercy. On that day, I lost my place in the palace, my title as a royal wife, and the security I thought I would have forever. I remember standing in the grand hall, feeling the cold marble under my feet, when the royal advisors surrounded the prince. One of them stepped forward and told the prince that I had failed because I had not conceived a child after 3 years of marriage. Another advisor revealed to him that keeping me would make him look weak in the eyes of the council. A third advisor showed him written documents claiming that allowing an infertile wife to stay could bring misfortune to the royal bloodline. Their words fell like stones, and the prince accepted them without looking at me. Before the palace, my life was simple and peaceful. I was born into a farming family in the quiet village of Noras. My parents were humble people who believed that kindness and learning were treasures no one could take away. Even though our school was small and old, they made sure I attended every lesson. By the time I was 17, I had studied history, healing herbs, and reading skills well enough to earn a scholarship to the Royal Learning House. That was where the prince noticed me for the first time. He admired my calmness, my gentle way of speaking, and the simple life I came from. I was taken into the palace and eventually married him, believing love and respect would guide our future. But life inside the palace was different. Every day was filled with rules about how to walk, how to speak, how to smile, how to greet visitors. Everything depended on appearance and reputation. In the first year of marriage, people treated me with warmth. In the second year, the smiles around me became tighter and shorter. In the third year, the servants avoided looking at me directly. The advisors whispered in corners, trying to hide their faces when I passed. I knew the reason. I had not conceived a child, and in their eyes, that made me less valuable. The pressure grew heavier each month. I was made to drink bitter mixtures that burned my throat. I was taken to healers who pressed my stomach until tears filled my eyes. A servant once told me that the advisors met secretly to discuss how to remove me quietly. A guard revealed to me that some of them believed I was a burden to the bloodline. Another person showed me an old scroll listing harsh traditions about women who could not bear children. At night, I heard footsteps outside my door, guards checking to see if I'd tried to flee, even though I had nowhere to go. I cried into my pillow, trying to hide my sobs from the world. I felt myself disappearing, little by little, as if my worth depended on something my body could not give. And on the 14th of Lumar, everything ended. The advisors stood in a circle around the prince, and he believed their words more than he believed in me. I was ordered to leave the palace and be taken away to an unknown place, far from the life I once had. That was the day my suffering began. I did not know it yet, but it was also the beginning of a journey that would change me forever. There are moments when you feel your own heartbeat shaking inside your chest, as if your body already knows something terrible is about to happen before your mind does. That morning, I felt that kind of fear, the kind that makes your hands cold and your thoughts heavy. Please stay with me, because what happened next shaped every tear, every step, and every hope that followed. I still remember waking up to the soft light coming through the thin curtains of my palace room, my last morning as a royal wife. I didn't know it then, but the walls were already whispering against me. The servant, who usually smiled at me, kept her eyes on the floor. She placed a tray of plain bread and fruit near my bed without saying a word. When I asked if something was wrong, she only murmured that the advisors had been meeting since dawn. She told me that my name kept coming up in their discussions. I felt a sharp pain in my stomach that had nothing to do with hunger. As I walked through the long hallways, every step echoed louder than usual. Even the guards avoided looking at me. One of them revealed to me in a worried voice that the advisors were preparing a final decision about my place in the palace. He didn't explain further, but the fear in his eyes told me enough. By midday, I was summoned to the grand hall. The air inside felt thick, too quiet, too heavy. The prince sat on his golden seat, but his face looked distant, unsure, almost frightened. Around him stood the advisors, the same men who had judged me for years. Their robes sparkled under the light, but their expressions were sharp, cold, and ready for attack. One advisor stepped forward and revealed to the prince that my failure had become a danger to palace order. He told him that people had started whispering behind closed doors about my inability to conceive. Another advisor showed him a scroll about ancient traditions that allowed the removal of a royal wife who could not produce an heir. A third advisor told him that letting me stay would cause tension across the kingdom. Every sentence they spoke felt like a knife cutting deeper. Every accusation made my heart shrink inside my chest. I looked at the prince, hoping he would defend me, but he kept his head lowered. I knew then that the final decision had already been made long before I entered the room. One advisor stepped closer and told me that my title was being taken away. My name, my honor, my identity, everything I had been in the palace, was removed in a single breath. I felt like I was disappearing from my own life. Then a guard, one who had always been kind to me, revealed to me that I was to be taken out through the back gate, quietly, without any public notice. He explained that the palace wanted no questions, no sympathy, no attention. They planned to send me away as if I had never existed. My legs shook. My hands felt weak. My breathing felt thin, like air was running away from me. As I walked out of the grand hall, escorted by 2 guards, I heard whispers behind me. One maid showed me a sad look and pressed her hand to her heart. Another servant told me she never believed the lies spoken against me. Their small kindness pushed tears to my eyes. When we reached the back gate, a place I had never used before, I saw a simple wooden cart waiting for me. It was nothing like the royal carriages I had once used. The door of the cart was open, dark and empty, like a mouth ready to swallow me whole. A guard lifted my small travel bag, the only thing I was allowed to take. He revealed to me that my new destination was somewhere far from the palace, somewhere no one would recognize me, question me, or care about who I once was. I climbed into the cart with shaky legs. The door closed behind me, and the sound echoed like a final goodbye to the life I once had. As the cart began to move, I looked back at the palace, through the tiny window. The same palace that once felt like a dream now looked like a cage made of gold and shadows. I realized then that my suffering was only beginning. I had lost everything, my home, my protection, my identity. But somewhere deep inside, in the middle of that pain, a small spark of hope flickered. I didn't understand it yet, but it was there, waiting. And this hope would someday save my life. The road leaving the palace was long and empty. I sat on the wooden floor of the cart, hugging my knees, listening to the wheels roll over rough stones. Dust filled the air, and the sun beat down on the roof above me. My thoughts kept repeating the same question: why wasn't I enough? After hours of traveling, we reached a quiet trading post on the edge of the kingdom. The place had cracked walls, torn tents, and tired-looking people moving around with hopeless eyes. Nothing about it felt safe. A guard pulled the cart to a stop and told me that this was my new path. I didn't understand what he meant until he stepped aside and I saw a group of harsh-looking traders waiting. One of the traders examined me the same way someone might look at an object. His stare made my stomach twist. Another trader revealed to the guards that they had instructions to take me far away so that no one in the kingdom would ever find me again. A woman standing nearby showed me a list of names, women who had been taken before me. My name was written at the bottom. My legs went cold. I realized then that they were not simply removing me from the palace, they were trying to erase me. I was ordered to step out of the cart. My hands trembled as I moved. The ground beneath me was hot, rough, and unforgiving. The air smelled like sweat, dust, and fear. People in the area watched me with blank expressions, as if my suffering was nothing new to them. One of the traders gripped my arm tightly and told me I would be taken to a distant land where no one knew my face. He explained that I would be working under strict orders and would no longer be viewed as a former royal wife. To them, I was just a problem the palace wanted to forget. My heart pounded against my chest. I felt small, powerless, invisible. They led me toward a wooden shelter where other women stood silently. Their clothes were worn out, their faces tired, but their eyes told stories of fear and strength. A young woman beside me revealed to me that many of them had been brought there after losing favor with powerful people. She told me that some came from poor villages, others from broken homes, and some from places I had never heard of. She explained how the traders controlled their movements. Strict routines, long hours, and endless rules. She showed me the ropes tied around her wrists, not tight enough to injure, but strong enough to remind her she wasn't free. My heart broke as she quietly leaned her shoulder against mine, showing me that we were both trapped by the same cruel system. Night fell, and the traders forced us inside a small, dim shelter. The room was crowded, with rough blankets spread across the floor. I sat in the corner, listening to soft cries and whispered prayers filling the air. I felt alone, even in a room full of people. As I sat there, tears rolled down my cheeks. It wasn't the fear of the place that hurt me most. It was the pain of being forgotten by the people I once loved. The prince who promised to protect me, the palace that once called me a blessing, the advisors who twisted my life into something painful. A woman sitting near me touched my hand gently. She revealed to me that pain has a way of shaping hearts, making them stronger. She told me that those who survive cruelty often become the ones who carry the most courage. Her words settled inside me like a tiny seed. That night, I closed my eyes on the cold floor, holding on to the last piece of hope inside me. I didn't know when freedom would come or how long I would suffer, but I felt something deep within, something that refused to die. I didn't understand it then, but a change was coming. A light I could not yet see was already moving toward me, and that light would save my life. The morning after that painful night in the shelter, I woke up with my head resting on the cold floor. My body ached from the hard ground, and my eyes felt swollen from crying. When I sat up, I saw the other women preparing for another day of hard labor. Their faces looked tired, but they still tried to smile at me, as if kindness was the only thing they had left. A trader entered the room and told us that we would be separated into groups. His voice sounded strict, and each step he took made my stomach twist. One woman revealed to me that separation was often the start of something even more difficult. My heart started to race. As we were led outside, the sun was painfully bright. Dust rose around our feet as we walked. I watched women around me bow their heads, almost as if they were trying to shrink themselves to avoid attention. I felt small too, like a shadow of who I had once been. The traders pushed us toward different lines. When it was my turn, another trader showed me a list and pointed at my name. He revealed to me that I had been selected for a distant place where I would be under strict control. Hearing those words made my hands shake. It felt like chains were tightening around my chest. They placed me in another cart, this one even smaller than the first. The door closed behind me with a loud thud. I felt the darkness wrap around me, and a cold fear crawled up my spine. As the cart moved, I pressed my forehead against the small opening in the wood, trying to breathe. Hours passed. The cart climbed rocky hills, moved through quiet forests, and crossed dusty roads. My thoughts felt heavy, almost too heavy for my mind. I wondered if anyone would ever know what happened to me. I wondered if my life would end in a place where no one knew my name. When the cart stopped, 2 guards opened the door and told me to step out. I found myself in a lonely valley far from the trading post. There was a small stone building nearby, dark, cold, and unwelcoming. One of the guards revealed to me that this would be my new place of work. His tone held no kindness. Inside the stone building, the air smelled old and damp. They handed me a rough cloth to wear and pointed to a corner where I was expected to sleep. I sat on the ground with my knees pulled close to my chest. I felt like a forgotten soul. Then something happened. A woman, older than the rest, walked quietly toward me. Her steps were soft, and her eyes held a kind of warmth I had not seen in a long time. She gently touched my shoulder and told me that she had survived many trials in that place. She revealed to me that she held on to hope even when everything seemed impossible. She showed me a small symbol she had carved on the wall, a symbol that reminded her she was not alone. Her kindness made tears fill my eyes. Hope. Without it, I had nothing. That night, as I lay on the hard floor, something changed inside me. It felt like a warm light touched my heart, almost like someone was whispering strength into me. I felt courage rising slowly, like a small flame in the wind. I didn't fully understand it, but I sensed that help was coming from a place far beyond human power. The next morning, before the traders returned, a young girl in the building told me she had seen a traveler near the valley. She revealed to me that the traveler spoke of freedom, healing, and mercy. Her words stirred something deep within me. It felt like the spark inside me was now growing stronger. And then, in the days that followed, that spark became a miracle that would break every chain placed on my life and open a path I never expected. My story was not over. It was only just beginning. My friend, as you read my journey, remember that many people around the world face pain, rejection, and persecution for their faith or for choosing the path of truth. I encourage you to keep them in your prayers. Pray for strength, courage, protection, and peace for every heart that suffers in silence. And if you desire to turn away from sin and begin a new life with God, you can simply speak from your heart. Here's a simple prayer you can follow. God, I come to you today. I want to leave my sins behind and walk in your light. Please forgive me, change me, and help me live the life you created me for. I choose you today, and I ask you to guide me from now on. If you prayed that from your heart, I'm happy for you. You are not alone. You are loved.